Good day. Last week, you have learned how to construct a scatter plot, and you have learned how to find or determine the value of the linear correlation coefficient, or specifically tinatawag nating person-product moment correlation. And you have learned to test the significance of the relationship between two variables. Yun yung tinatawag natin, tinest natin yung value that we obtained na R using the person-product moment correlation coefficient. Now, itong tatlong ito ang magiging basis natin in studying more about the relationship between the given bivariate data. And our next lesson is about regression. Okay? And here are our objectives. 1. At the end of this lesson, you're expected to compute the equation of the regression line, predict the value of the dependent variable based from the value of the independent variable. Okay, let's start our discussion by defining regression analysis. It says regression analysis is a set of statistical processes for estimating the relationships between a dependent variable, often called the outcome variable, and one or more independent variables, often called predictors, covariates, or features. So therefore, we will be predicting value of the dependent variable based from the value of the independent variable called the predictors. For example, if we want to determine or to predict the height of sun based from the height of his father, using regression, pwede natin gawin yon. Okay? Also, we can we can predict the cost per liter of gasoline based from the currency exchange rate. Okay? Or if you want to predict the grade of the student in stats based from the number of absences of this student. Diba? Now, actually, madaming regression analysis. Ang most common form of regression analysis ay yung linear regression. Okay? At yan ang ating pag-aaralan for this day. Okay? Now, in studying relationships between two variables, may nauna na tayong tatlong lessons about this. Ano? Ang ginagawa talaga natin in studying relationship between two variables is we collect data, then we construct a scatter plot. Now, the purpose of scatter plot, na nabanggit ko na sa inyo before, is to determine the nature of the relationship between the variables. And there are possibilities ng relationship between two variables. Pwedeng positive relationship, negative relationship, curvilinear, yung naka-curve. And then the last is if there is no relationship or no discernible relationship based from the scatter plot constructed. Okay. After the scatter plot is thrown and we establish the linear relationship, the next step is to compute the value of the correlation coefficient. Okay, yun yung R natin. And if the correlation coefficient is significant, okay, na-test natin siya, yung value yung R na na-compute natin, saka palang dadako tayo sa regression analysis, that is finding the equation of the regression line. Now, take note of this. If the value or the computed value of R or the relationship is not significant using the traditional method of testing our hypothesis, hindi na natin kailangan pang kunin yung regression line kasi it will be meaningless kasi wala ngang significant relationship, so therefore hindi na natin kailangan pang kunin yung equation of the regression line because ang purpose kasi ng regression line is to see if we can makita natin yung trend and then we make predictions on the basis of the data na meron tayo. Okay? So, pag walang significant relationship, it is meaningless to determine the equation of the regression line. Okay? So, therefore, kailangan right after we compute the value of R, correlation coefficient, i-test natin significant if there is a relationship. And then, that's the time if we have a significant relationship, that's the time we can determine the equation of the regression line. If the relationship is not significant, there is no need to compute for the equation of the regression line. Okay? Now, ano ba yung line of best fit? Let us analyze itong ating scatter plot. A scatter plot of two variables natin, x and y. mapapansin natin, it shows that there are several lines that pwede nating i-draw dun sa ating graph near the points. Okay? Now, itong scatter plot na to, kailangan makapag-draw tayo ng line of best fit. Okay? Ano yung best fit na yon? It means the sum of the squares of the vertical distances from each point to the line is a minimum. So, yung line of best fit na yon, if we're going to get the sum of the squares of the vertical distances ng lahat ng points na to, dapat ay minimum. Yun yung tinatawag nating best fit o line of best fit. Okay? Kailangan minimum yung sum of the squares of the vertical distances ng bawat point dun sa ating line. At yun ang tatawagin nating line of best fit. Kasi we can draw any line na tatama dyan sa ilang points na yan, pero pag hindi minimum yung ating makukuhang sum of the squares of the vertical distances, hindi pa rin siya best fit. Okay? So, kailangan natin best fit. Now, to do that, kailangan alam natin yung vertical distances of each point doon sa ating best fit. Okay? Yun yung tinatawag nating residual. That is the difference between the actual value and the predicted value of y. And as you can see from the given figure, yung mga points natin, we have 7 points here at ang vertical distances near the following, D1, D2, D3, D4, D5, D6, D7. Okay? Yung mga yung mga distances niyan tinatawag nating residual. Okay? Now, merong tayong tinatawag na method in making the residuals as small as possible because that is our purpose. Ano? Yung makuha natin yung best fit na kung saan yung mga residuals natin ay malapit dun sa mga points na yan at malapit din sa mga line o sa ating line of best fit na yan. Now, yung method of least squares ang ginagamit natin para mapaliit natin yung mga residuals natin. Okay? And since we're going to use the method of least squares on our regression analysis, tinatawag natin tong least squares regression line. Okay? The next is, how are we going to determine the equation or the regression line? Okay? In determining the regression line, may halintulad ito doon sa ating line represented in algebra. Kung natatandaan nyo, yung equation natin ng straight line is denoted by y equals mx plus b. Ang tawag natin dito, slope-intercept form kasi yung ating equation of line, merong slope at merong y-intercept. Okay? Yung slope natin yung m at yung b natin yung y-intercept. And based from our illustration, yung ating line nag-intersect sa y-axis at a vertical distance of 5 units. Ang ating y-intercept dito equal to 5. And to determine this slope, if you still remember, that is the ratio of the vertical distance to horizontal distance of the line. Or tawag natin, rise over run. Sa case ng ating given illustration, our height is 2 and our run is 4. Therefore, our slope is 0.5. And this is the way we represent line in algebra. But when it comes to statistics, ang ginagamit natin is y prime equals a plus bx. Nabaliktad lang yung position ng ating y-intercept sa slope as compared dun sa ating equation of a straight line in algebra. Yung a natin, yun yung tinatawag nating y-intercept, siya yung 5 natin. At yung slope natin, kanina sa algebra is m, dito ang gagamitin sa atin sa statistics ay b. So therefore, y prime equals a plus bx. But some of the books in statistics, ang ginagamit nila hindi y prime, kundi y hat. And sa pagbibigay ko ng example, ay pakikita ko sa inyo yung symbol ng y hat, okay, instead of y prime. Now, ito yung ating equation gagamitin in determining the equation of the regression line, that is y hat equals a plus bx. So, ito na nga yung y hat. Okay? And here are the equations of, or the formulas that we need in finding the equation of the regression line. We have y hat equals a plus bx, where a can be computed using this formula, a equal to summation of y, summation of x squared, minus the product of the summation of x and summation of xy all over n summation of x squared minus the square of summation of x. For the slope of the regression line, we use b equal to n summation of xy minus summation of x and summation of y all over n summation of x squared minus square of summation of x. Again, yung ating a is the y-intercept, b is the slope of the line. Okay? Now, in rounding the values of a and b, as much as possible, round this to 3 decimal places. Okay? And we have here the procedure table in finding the equation of the regression equation line. The first step is we're going to make a table as shown. On step number 2, we have step number 2, we're going to determine the values of x, y, x squared, and y squared. And then we're going to place that in the appropriate columns, and we're going to get the sum of each column. And for step number 3, if r or when r is significant, we're going to substitute in the formulas to find the values of a and b for the regression line equation. We have y prime or y hat equals to a plus bx. Okay, so I'm going to give you examples in finding the equation of the regression line using these 3 steps or procedure table, and after that I'm going to try to solve this using scientific calculator. Okay, so thank you.